Hello, how's it going? Hey, good morning, everyone, and here we are once again, Walk the Web. I'm Dr. Aaron Dishno. Hey, if you're my friend, call me Aaron. That's Aaron. But here we go, back to the paintball game. So, gonna jump right in. Just looking at what I've got here and seeing where we are, pick up the pieces, and see if we can't finish out some stuff. So, let's see. So far, good deal, good deal. Good deal, YouTube. Thanks for joining me again. I appreciate it. Um, let's see. Is my desktop audio picking up any background music? I can't tell if it's coming through or not. I guess it's softly in there. Okay. Just doing a desktop audio check. I have the little background music playing. I don't know if you can hear it or not. Okay, as long as it's not too loud for us, then it's got to be all right. Okay, so gonna do some things where when he picks this up, he moves to different stance and everything else. So that's the plan right now. Let me go check out. No music? Okay. Well, I guess it's going in my head and I can't play it out to there yet. I'll figure out. I'll play around with that offline. I don't have to mess with that right this minute. Let's see. You know what? Actually, I bet I know. Speakers. Okay. Well, I don't know. I clicked it back to the. I had it going to the Yeti for the speakers, so it was probably just putting it in my own head. But now I told it to do something different. I don't know if that's going to work or not. Yeah, I guess we'll find out. Otherwise, I'll play around with that off scene. We'll do that another time. I'll figure out how that's going and see if I can't get it working when I'm test stream or something. Okay, well, either way, here we go. And first thing I'm going to do is I got to check and see, did I load, what did I load? Did I get any of the animations in place? Because if I did, I can check that out and see about hooking it up. Paintball, assets, animations. No, I don't have any of them there. Okay, that would explain a lot. Okay. Think. Start with Blender. We're going to get an animation so we can throw it in there. Well, did I create the animation? Just not move it over there, which is a possibility still. It would be under my paintball and movements. No, I've got the... Well, actually, do I? Okay. I do have the idle, and it's 51 frames, and it's in this other directory. Okay, that's a good sign. Let me... where am I going? I'm not on the right directory. Let's go. Where am I going? Blender. And let's see here. I put it under paintball. Let's see. Come on, where? Didn't I? Oh, that would make a big difference. I did it on my local machine. Hold on, I gotta FTP something across. That explains it. I was gonna say I thought I did some of this work already, but here we gotta connect over to FTP, content, plugins, Paintball, boom, assets, animations, and explains a lot. I was looking in the right directory, just wrong server. My local machine, I already prepared all these different animations, or a couple of them, but didn't copy them to the server. So let's see what I have here. Well, we're starting with this one. Okay, so like I said, it has 51 frames, and the folder for this, let me see. Okay, so I copied into this folder from my local machine. Okay. What's the name of the file? Okay, then what I want to do is get over here and scripts, paintball action zone. This is where I was going to do it. So let me, our animations equal, pick back up this, but what I'm going to do is a simpler version of this. Just use this notation. Okay, so that has these values. This one here, I don't care what I put in these for now. They should be 16-digit alphanumeric, blah, 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 and I'll get to that later. No problem there. Load priority, make it, I don't know, 20. Animation name, on-weight rifle. That would work. Animation friendly name. Yeah, I don't care what it is. This should be holding rifle. Animation icon, doesn't matter. Object folder. Okay, this is content, plugins, paintball. Oh gosh, I probably already lost it. Plugins, paintball, assets, and animations. Okay. Animations. And the object file is, just had it right there, this name. Oops, sorry, this name. Copy. Start frame on 1 and end on 51, like we just said. Animation loop, 1 for true. Speed ratio 1. Sound IDs blank. Path mount distance. Okay, so let's see what happens. Yes, open up that in admin mode. Okay. Oh, what did it do? 2 different windows. It reopens this one in admin mode. You gotta love that. I seem to be caught in a loop. You gotta be kidding me. Okay, fine. Fine. I will close that one for a second. Come on. You gotta be kidding me. One isn't allowing the other one to close or open in... Ah, you bastards. Fine, I can fix this. Copy, close this. No, and kill it out. Now this one's running in admin mode. Usually I've typed at least 1 or 2 things. Welcome, Cloud Monk. How you doing? I was catching out your channel earlier. Nice. Yeah. I'm not lying. I checked it out. I didn't talk. No. No. Just kidding. Sorry. And actually, I didn't catch you today. I caught you the other day. Actually, I did check you today. What am I doing? My brain? Kick it in. Kick it in. Kick it in. So how you been? I know, we were talking. Your mom came over. Hope mom's doing well. Cool. Yeah. My dog sleeps about 22 hours a day. It's a Cocker Spaniel mix named Leo, a little blonde dog, about 8 years old now, and he's been chill since we got him. Let's see here. Yeah, we were definitely lucky with this one. I've never seen a dog so comfortably chill. Sleeps a lot of hours, just likes to kick back. Can't go wrong with that, right? Okay, so now I put that in there, and I'm kind of curious now if I run this. Oh, I didn't tell it to load it there, sorry. One more thing I have to do, and that is on Action Zone Def. Action Zone Def dot avatar animations equals that. Now I've tied them into the mix, I think. Okay, and we're gonna see what happens here. Oh, I missed that, of course. What I miss? Unexpected token. Okay, see, now I got to do it the other way. Okay, so this should be. I did that wrong. Do it as an array, and I should be able to. Let me do it differently. Animation 0 equals something like that should work. Let's see if I got my notation right. Yeah, that storybook thing, that was kind of messed up, I think. Yeah. That one, yeah. It's probably one of those things that you're going to come back after taking a break from it, and it's going to be like right on the top of your head going, oh, should have checked this, click, click, and it's done. You know, it just was kind of strange how it was doing that, where if you're, tuning in over here, Cloud Monk was dealing with an issue in Storyblock, if I say it right, that basically it would generate the page. You could click it from the link within the page, and it would show you the site. But if you brought that URL outside of it, went directly into a browser, it wouldn't do it because it wasn't physically generating the page. Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. You're going to step away, you're going to take a little break, and you're going to walk up to it, and it's going to be the first thing you solve, like in about 2 minutes when you walk back over to it and try it again. Yeah. I do that all the time too. For me, it was Monday all day long. Couldn't do a dang thing, get it right or anything. Walked in there on Tuesday and went pow, 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 pow. Everything just fell together and got a lot done. So let's see. Did I do that notation right now? Why does it not like this? What am I doing? Why am I didn't throw a comma in here where it shouldn't be or something, or vice versa, did I? Well, instead of calling it that way, I've done them this way, and it just basically... Why am I having so much trouble doing this? If I... My brain went blank on this one. I was doing so well yesterday. I was bragging about it even. Let me see. That liked it. Okay. Okay, and now the guy loads. The guy loads. Come on. There he is. Well, I can tell you already he's not doing the other animation. Huh. Yeah. Okay, let me find out first of all if this was in the right place. Action Zone Def, it should be Avatar Animations, which would be no. Yeah, this isn't even the right. Yeah. I had this all set up and then it turns out it wasn't loaded in admin mode and it killed it all out. Okay, let me catch up here. That's how I feel when I'm debugging my bot and website. They both can mess up with me doing a little thing and then boom, it takes a day to fix it. Yeah. I totally get you. It does the same thing for me. I run into the same type of things. This one should be catching that. It should be able to load this animation. So what I want to do is I want to double check and see if this animation is loading, which would be, first of all, there we go, this one. Am I able to write in here or is it going to give me the, okay, so it is running in admin mode. Okay, it was trying to trip me out of admin mode. Okay, don't need config. In here we have action zones. And in here, I have avatar animations, and it is part of the root, and then it pulls these in. These are defined exactly like this, which I pulled out and did. It's an array. Yeah. That's why I kept thinking array like that. Had the PHP on the brain when I was trying to type JavaScript, right? Okay, so if that's pulling it in this direction, then we're getting them there. And when it runs, let me think of where it's loading it. When it detects that it's in the action zone, okay, which I believe I put just a couple things up here. Check load animation, this is where it would do it. And let me see if the animation name even got this far. I want to see if it actually loaded it. This should tell me. And let's see. That'll tell me if it actually loads it, so we'll find out over here. Zone type, paintball zone. First my avatar has to show up. Then it should detect that he's in this zone. No. Oh, I know what it is. I think what's happening is because I created... Oh, I overlapped myself on this one. I created a zone that is called load animations. But when I walk into that zone, I then created in this, I use that load animation zone here. And it didn't create the right zone. Oh, you know what? I know why. If I take this, and I change it to right here to be load animations. So if it's load animations there, then the action zone type now should be determined that it's this that I'm loading up should be that type, which should now trigger doing all that. Yeah, like I said, I think my brain's included today or something, because I think that might be it. We'll find out here in a second. But I can see what it's doing. It's the action zone type. It says paintball zone, but that's where I'm calling it, not... Well, didn't load the other thing. Okay, so I'm piggybacking it on instead of having it recreate another zone and then trying to teach it what to do when it happens. Since it is a load animations type thing, I kind of want to use this here as the animation. So basic action zones, I have load animations is the zone. It's using this code to create it. Add action zone animations. But see, I'm not changing the type it was originally. That's the issue. I know what's happening. When I walk into the zone, there's a section right here. Let's go back up a little farther. Yeah, this section here. See, there's this load animations type, and what is happening is it's not running this because it's expecting the type to be this. But what I'm not doing is when I load this, I set the animations, and then I want to tell it it's this type of thing. But what it's passing, it creates it thinking it's one, but I never changed the original action zone itself. So what I need to do is I need to go back a step. I need to look up see, we have action zone IND, which actually helps because now I can go WalkTheWeb, action zones, this, and set the action zone type to this. So basically, I'm changing what type it is when it creates it so that from here on out, it thinks it's a load animation zone. So that would be, this is not null. I like double checking that before I go causing an error there. And I'm only going to load it if it actually found it. Otherwise, I'm not going to let it load it. Okay. See, I did off the top of my head for those names. Okay, paintball zone is the action zone type it tried to create, but did it? And WTW log is console log, by the way. I just renamed it so that I can throw some colors in with it very easily when I do it. So test one. All I'm going to do is I just want to see if it gets to this spot where it's actually creating it. Test two. Let's see if everything's in place to get that far, or am I not even running this piece of code? Yeah. Okay. Then here, action zone type, which would be should be right here, should match the other, which is load zone, load animations. Did I spell everything right? Load animations. Just to do it. I want to see what the type was before because it should be paint the paintball zone. Otherwise, I can always put in code and tell it how to handle a paintball zone. I just thought this might be easier. See, it's still calling it a paintball zone. Okay, that's what it was before, and then I set it to the new zone. But see, then when I walk inside of it, it should have detected that I'm inside of that particular zone. So I'm not sure. Just out of curiosity. Yeah. You know, just thinking this one through, when I look at the action zones, yeah, it's all the way to the ground, so there's no problem there. Should be in the zone. It kind of appears to be. Okay, it's telling me what it is there, and I'm setting it to this. So load animations is what it should be from here on out. Is there anything in my code that would re-change that or try to load it up again or something? Well, let's find out. In here, check load animations. So this one is happening when check load animations when it's load animations type of zone. So let's find out if it's actually getting to here. What did we do? Action zone ID. Okay, so this one should be repeating and happening all the time because I'm in the zone. Find out real quick, won't we? See, I'm standing within that zone, so it should automatically detect that, and that's what I'm trying to double check right now, making sure that it knows. If not, it doesn't know that it's that type of a path, that type of a zone. There's another way to do it. Instead of telling it... Okay, so if this method of trying to switch what type of zone I'm using is messing up, which means that it's probably not telling it's a load animation zone anymore right after I start that. So once I've appended the animation, avatar animations, and I tell it to load, create one that looks just like this, then I should have the zone in place. And let's find out over here. Let's first find out if we're in the zone. This would be you know, for my code, it would actually be easier if I just renamed the zone instead of paintball zone, load animations, paintball. No, but now there's more than one thing that I'm going to be doing in this zone, so it's pretty unique. But if we check this mold name here, I'm going to put an if statement around that because I really don't want it to show me all the zones I'm in. So if I do this and paintball, I want to see if the word paintball shows up in there. Because if it's a paintball zone and we're in the zone, then that would be a step forward. Then it's just a matter of calling the right function at that point. Okay, action zone, paintball zone, let's see. Yep, it is. So, and it only happens when I move, by the way. See, and if I walk out of the zone, the number stops. It's at 109. And now if I walk into the zone, see, it does know when I'm in the zone and when I'm not. Okay, that's fine. And it is called, you know, it is the type paintball zone. So what I will do is right here, I do Oh, I know what I need to do. Okay, so in here I am adding... I know I'm checking to see if you're in a zone for... There it is, plugins check-in zone. This particular function runs every time, and this is when I can pass it to my code in my plugin. So if I do check action zone in a function in Paintball, I think I did a few of these things. Let's see if I wrote one for check action zone. Reset hovers, open GUI. I copied it from another plugin. That's why I've got some of this stuff in place, but it's all remarked out. Wanted to see which ones I have and which ones I don't. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a function, and I'm going to tie it up into here so that it knows to check, basically. And I'm going to add this piece of code for itself. Yeah, this I'm going to wire in basically using the hook that I have. I'm going to wire in a function. I'm going to call it check action zone, and it's going to have these same 3 values passed to it. So instead of that, and okay, also make that a lowercase c just for naming. Depends on the page. I broke a lot of things down. But there are 2 pages that are pretty good lines, the core and also the common. These 2, actually also the admin one. These scripts have a lot of lines of code in them, a lot of functions. But yeah, that's a good question. Why are there over 1,000 lines in just one script? I haven't quite come up with a good logic of... Well, actually, I do have a good logic of separation. I just haven't taken the time to do it yet, because I could separate them. There's some overlap, but I could separate them into the logic components of what they do. So if they have to do with action zones opposed to the creating of the meshes or molds, if they have to do with the yeah, there's different pieces. The core actually generates the first scene, so I could separate the scene from some of the cycle. There's some pieces there, and then I have some things about movement in there. I could break those down. I could. It doesn't have to be that long, because what ends up happening, just like you're probably predicting, is that when I run into something and like here I'm going, oh, I know it's in this file, and I go, oh, it's just a little bit higher, and the next thing you know, I'm scrolling for 5 minutes and it's about 10, 15 things up. It ends up being a little farther than I thought. I know you're laughing at me for that, but it's true. I know what file everything's in, but it has a logic to it of where things are. For example, common has a lot of common functions that I use throughout everything. It's a big junk collector, but there are some pieces I could separate out. But as long as, here's the deal, I don't want to make the script area too convoluted with too many different things. I have like prime, those are my core scripts that make everything run. Everything else are independently broken out already. But in these files, yeah, there's a couple of them that could easily be broken down better than they currently are. I see where you're going. Yeah. I was good to get them in this format. Are you kidding? As I was building things, you should have seen how much I had originally, and I kept on separating them out just to get it this far. I only pulled the cameras out about a month or 2 ago, and I got all the camera functions in one place now, so that was a lot nicer, being able to work with them in one place. But yeah, I think you're right. I probably should spend a day, one of these days, and just jump in here with the core and the common. Those are the main 2 offenders, and then the other one that's really bad is admin editor. That one right there is just all the admin in one file. It's pretty ugly. I know that it uses other files and stuff, but that's probably the ugliest of the bunch. I should probably just each day, or once a week or whatever it takes, take one file and instead of just calling it core, say init scene and the scene render cycle, the keystrokes, the user input piece, which is the which is the core to. It's where the keystrokes transfer over to the avatar, or I can even put that in the avatar section for all that matters, because you are controlling your own avatar when you do it. I think I put it in the core originally because it was also for all the multiplayer rendering of where they are, but it's still avatars, so yeah. You're okay. Have you ever seen any big companies just HTML or JavaScript files? Can't imagine how weird their backend scripts are. Yeah, I've seen both. I've seen some that break it down too much, and it's like, man, just ridiculous amount of includes to get everything connected up. And then I've seen some that, all in one page. I had one time, I know a guy that he's done so many bid projects that he had to do a small project, but he used the same format and all the file directories and everything else for the large project. And the problem was it was almost impossible to ever close the project. He didn't just go after the things he needed. He tried to create this structure that was like bulletproof. And when all he needed was a simple, tiny file, simple, tiny website thing. So I know it does happen, over-engineering things. I think I'd rather be on the side of under-engineering and then add it as you need it than to over-engineer and never be able to finish the project because it's actually too much to conquer. So yeah, it's kind of half and half on that. It's kind of half and half. But I can see how I've got a couple places I can actually prune this down a bit. For example, basically in this particular file, like the core, like I said, first thing it does is it has the init load sequence. And from here, it checks to see a couple things, like if the Babylon engine's loaded or supported by the browser. And then it inits the environment. Goes through these whole steps. Does some setup of your avatar if you haven't created an avatar yet. If that all clears, then basically comes into continue the load sequence, which hits these files in this order to finish rendering out and then starting the the scene engine and everything. So yeah, pretty cool. It's straightforward in order of where they sit there and everything. But then there's files that are beyond that initial scene that are used as you're walking around and browsing the sites. So it will check to see if you're in a load zone, or if you're in a zone, it'll load other things because of where you've walked. It'll unload things because you walked out of an area. So it has a lot of things like that it does. Yeah, I could separate the loaders. These things are all different loaders. One loads the molds, which are the meshes. One loads I've got automations, all kinds of things. Yeah, I'll have to see about breaking that up because I think it's a good idea. I dig too much on some of these long line codes and stuff when there could be a better way, especially if somebody else is following in my footsteps. Obviously, with open source, you're hoping that happens. So, okay, so I think it's at this level. Yeah, the plugins check. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is okay, that was another, okay, if I had to do any of those. Me in zone or others in zone? Actually, I only need to know if me in zone, it's past 2 there, so we're good. Yeah, I don't need to know if somebody else is in the zone. The reason I did that, there's a little trick. If, let's say, you walk in a zone and it opens a door, well then, if somebody else is in your scene and they walk near the door should still open. So that's why I'm checking to see if I'm in the zone for it's something that I need to load for myself, or if somebody else is in the zone and I need to make the action still happen in the scene. So that's kind of why I have me in zone and others in zone in this section. But coming into this process that I'm going to run over here, what I want to do is check to see if I'm in the zone, because that's the only time I need to load all this paintball stuff. Then I'm going to double check and see that my avatar has the correct stuff loaded. And we're going to check to see if load animations, we're going to run this right here. And instead of load animations, we're going to run it if it's called paint. I think it was just Paintball Zone. Okay. And then I have this set up to wire up pretty easily. All I have to do is take this part here and the plugins. I have my functions to load the plugins. And I have a section right. That's if you're in admin only. And this section's if you're in anything else. See, I'm loading the scripts for the plugin right here. I have telling it to connect these up, add script function here, add zone def there. Okay, so basically I need one just like this. And what it's going to run is this function here. Okay, and this name right here is actually, I can show you where these are. In our functions, we have the init session. No, actually, sorry. It is the plugin module, plugins. And for each one of these, what I've done is, here it is. Each one of these in this function right here, it's actually writing onto the page and it's creating dynamically each one of these plugin functions. And I use a PHP in the back end to take this line right here, add it to an array, and then spit it out on the fly into the functions where they belong. So in this particular case, the one I'm going for, in fact, it's even easier to find than that, because I have it highlighted right. I have it right here. That's the one I want. Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate you stopping by, Cloud. Yeah, appreciate it. And I'll see you again. I'll catch yours tomorrow. But have a good day. I'll catch you then. Okay, so I have this check action zones, and in the code right here, I have the check action zones trigger, and I have the check action zone. So this is the one that it runs, and it puts it through in here, and this name that I'm calling by script function is the name of this piece right here that tells it which part of which variable to call for the array. There's all in one array. I put them all in there, and then I only use this to match up which ones are going to go in this particular spot right there. So now, by doing that, one line of code here, I basically should now have that function running as directly as a paintball thing. And we should be able to get to the point where, ooh, what is it? Plugins, check action zone is not defined. What did I, okay. What am I passing? Is it Z action zone? Did I, let me make sure I'm getting the right field names here. Oh yeah, Z action zone. I put a Z in front of each one of them, which is what I'm heading for on all these things. I just haven't finished them all yet. But I like to use Z as an internal variable within a function so that I can tell between global and, you know, I can just see internal for any of my functions immediately when I do them. Okay, so save that there. Now, in my function, let's go back over there, because did I use action zone, me action zone? Yeah, we did. Let's go ahead and do them here too, just because consistency. And change that there. Mold name. I do not have mold name. I'm checking for it, but I don't have it. I should be passing mold name too. Or is it? the action zone is the mold name. I think the action zone's the mold name. Let me double check. Yep, the action zone is the mold name. Okay, not a problem. It's this one. Goes there. That makes more sense. I don't know why he's kept it as mold name on the first page. I'll probably change that too. Clean that up. It's not a well, it's technically both, but it's an action zone. And paintball script, check action zone. Z action zone index of is not a function. Oh, sorry. Z action zone dot name, I think is what I need. Because I'm doing I'm checking the mold name here. That would be the name of the item. The mold name is the action zone mold name. That's the name I'm looking for. Could be ID or name. Let's see. Let me check by name works. Because the action zone is the actual object, not the name of the object. Okay, so now we have a text piece. And paintball type. Okay, we're in that zone. And loads up the guy. There he is. I'm still not... Let me find out. Give it something here. I just want to see if it's in the zone first, and then we can find out why it didn't go the next level. Yeah, I'm detecting that he's in the zone. And notice that it happens before the avatar even shows on the screen. Technically, I'm running by a 1 by 1 by 1 cube that scales him from the very bottom, and that's his position. So then everything else is an animation and avatar sitting on top of that. See right here, I'm not in the zone. It stopped running the numbers. The numbers here are saying if I'm in the zone because it's checking on every time I move. So when I'm moving, if it's there, oh, there we go. What'd I get? Okay, so it's in the zone, and what's that? Action zone. Check action zone. I is not defined. Where did I have an I? Oh. This would be the... That one will be needed. That should be the index of the... Oops, wrong page, sorry. That is something I'm going to add in here because people may need that particular part. If I can decipher it from the name, but I'd rather, it's a lot simpler if I just pass. You know what? I'm going to change it up a little bit. Let me see where I'm using this first. It would be ideal to pass in this function. Instead of passing the actual object of the scene, if I pass the name, I know more information and I can do some other things. No hitbox yet? It's literally just a box. Yeah, so far it's just a box. It really is. We haven't gotten that far down the road yet, but we're getting there. So far, I just want to make the animations work for the avatar, and then I'm going to start moving into making the gun shoot and all the other goodies. But yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there. Slowly but surely. Right now, I'm being able to throw the extra animations in here would definitely help. So that he's idle and he holds the gun in front of him. That means when I walk, he'll hold it in front of him shooting, being able to. Okay, so when I do this one, I've only used it in I do it here, and do I use it in another plugin? Yeah, I'm okay. I'll check it anyway. One plugin at a time, right? Okay, so instead of sending the action zone, I need to send this mold name. I'm going to pass the mold name, and it would be nice to just pass the index instead of having to call it, which is index is this. Oh, it is I. Yeah, because it is the index of the one I'm working on currently. So by passing the index in here, makes it a lot easier to work with. Go back to here, and I'm going to change that to action zone name, and then anytime I put IND, it's index. Anytime I put ID at the end of one, it's the ID, which is a often alphanumeric 16-digit type thing. Okay, so now by passing both of these, action zone name and action zone IND, now I can do this here because I know which one it is within the array, and this, we'll just change that to action zone name. All I had to do is take out the period, huh? Now I gotta get rid of an extra Z. Okay, and this would be right there. And let's see what that does. That should do it, because passing them in and using them. Oh, I didn't fix the other place yet, which is here. I need this one there, and that to be the name, action zone name. So will there be a text chat add-on or just the vanilla game? This is where we were talking a bit about this yesterday. I'm thinking a text chat add-on, like a plugin that you can put in there to your code to enhance the whole chat features, functionality, and everything else. And then we were talking about doing the voice over IP, stuff with possibly tying it to Discord. I know we were looking at that and ran into a little bit of, I think, political issues more than technical issues. But I'm up for the whole thing. I'm up for making it where it's a text chat piece. See, currently, I did write the basics of a text chat just to kind of show that it can be done, kind of thing. And when you're in multiplayer and you get a second person in there, if you click on them, it will open up a box and let you chat between the people that you click on. But I think that kind of needs to be a lot better than what I was heading for. Like I said, mine was more of a demo showing that it could happen instead of an actual really efficient way of doing it. But still, I didn't go too far into it because I want to do my Socket.io server and get them so that they're working right in time with each other for true time games and stuff at the same time. Where right now I was using an HTML process to track where the other person is so that you could see them in their scenes, and it's all part of what I gave everybody already. So it's kind of like that's the vanilla wrapper, that's the early version, and then I'm going to let them upgrade if they want to pay a fee for Socket.io to be multiplayer all the time and, true to life timing and whatever we can do. So, but we're not there yet. I mean, I've got to create that server still and everything, so it's going to take a little bit more work to get it up to pace. But that's where I'm heading with it. I do like that idea and definitely going to get that going. It's right in line with what I'm doing here. Getting the different, being able to set the different animations for an avatar is going to be transferred into multiplayer next, so that the other players pick up a gun, you'd see them holding the gun and the rifle and whatever else. Or if they switch to another animation set, I'm just making it real easy to go between the different animation sets. Okay, let's see if I either fixed it or broke it right now. I don't think I have to say in zone anymore, but that'll... Yeah, because see, I'm in the zone. That's all good. And when it loads the player, okay. See, he's not standing that direction. It isn't triggered to this. I can pick that up, but he isn't in... He's in the zone, but it's not doing something else. So we know... Okay, so when I'm moving, we know it's in zone. Oh, there he goes. Okay, the animation's out of whack, but don't worry about that. But he is moving to a different thing as an idle. His eyes are all bugged out. The gun's off-centered for holding that. I don't know. That's okay. I'm not worried about the animation. I'm just looking at that the animation actually kicked in. So I had to move for it to do it. Oh, when I moved, it loaded the animation. That's why. But now it knows to use it. Okay, that's a start. Because every time I go to idle, it kicks in that animation. So that is a start. I think we're getting closer here. So get rid of some of this tracking that we've solved. We got it that far, and it is going into the load animation now. So the animation is getting picked up and done. That's when I pick up the gun. I'm going to leave that in place for right now. The paintball code, what did I write into this section? Nope, we're good. Okay, so backtracking just a little bit here. We have this. I don't need that anymore because I know it went there, and it loaded that animation because we were able to play it even. Okay, so made some progress, don't need to know that anymore. So from here, what I want to do is I currently went to the constructor and basically just told it, hey, rifle, that's what I'm picking up. But instead, I'm going to set it back to blank. And I want to test out the next possibility, or the thing that I'm doing, which is when he picks up the gun. When I click on it and the gun goes in his hand, which is this code right here, then I'm going to make it... I'm going to set the same thing at the same time to, oops, I didn't need that. Animation set is going to be the rifle. So he picks up a rifle and it basically changes all the animation set to having a rifle in his hands. So now when I reset this, he should have his normal idle even when I'm walking around. And then when I click on the gun and it puts it in his hand, from there on out, the idle should be using the new version. That's, in theory, that's what it's supposed to do. We'll see how well I did here. Okay, so first thing is I'm going to walk into this zone so we know we're in it. And now when I click on the rifle, it didn't pick it up. There it goes. Whoa, we got some animation messed up there. He's jumping and doing all kinds of weird things. Our animation loaded while another one was loading. Let me try something. What I may have to do is put a delay so that, not a time delay, but a sequence delay, to make sure that the animation, I think what's happening is, because I'm starting in the zone, it's knowing that it needs to add this animation while it's still loading the other current animations. So I have a feeling it may have overlapped an animation that was already there. So let's find out. Okay, so he walks into the zone. I may have to stage it so he's not in the zone. And there he is. See, he picked up the, now he's standing in idle with that animation running. Okay, so it is possible. I need to make sure that it doesn't overlap. I let him finish loading all of his standard stuff before it loads this piece into the mix. Otherwise, it will have some issues with it. Okay, so options and settings. I'm going to set the starting position just to test it again. I'm setting it outside of the paintball zone. So when I do this, I'm going to walk up into the zone, and that will allow it to load up that final, the idle of being in a paintball zone. So we'll get it going here. Okay, so he's standing in idle, and we walk up into the zone. As long as we cross that little blue line down on the bottom, then we're good to go. And when I click on this, he picks up the gun and automatically goes to it. Okay, so the sequence works. The idea works that he does that. I should set it up where if you click the gun again and it's already picked up, then he sets it down. I don't know, I'll have to play around with that because it'll probably be like drop to the ground or something if you throw it down. But, oh, I'm sorry. Did I answer your last message? Okay, so actually, since you already know how, could you teach me how to set up a chat system from my moderator dashboard to allow mods to have a private chat? Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, yeah, definitely. Definitely, I can help you do that. We can take a look at what you have, and or I can teach you the concept of what I did and stuff. Basically, there's a transport. It's basically asking every second or whatever to see if there's anything new, and it's basically panning in a database to find out if there's anything been added. When one person does something, you hit the button, goes right in. Then it basically constantly looks to see if you've read that message or not, and then it pulls it back out. But yeah, that's concept. But yeah, later, no worries. Okay. But yeah, I can definitely take a look with you on that, and we can figure that one out. Because the other thing we were talking about was being able to use Discord or something in the background. If we can't use Discord, that's not an issue. We can definitely try it with either a different product or write our own voice over IP. Who knows? I've never tried it before, so there's no proof you can't do it. Okay, so I'm good with the guy holding the gun. And notice when he walks, he's still using his normal walking position and stuff. So what I need to do is I need to pull in another animation. Let me see if I file new, general. And I'm going to leave the box there for a minute. File. First thing I'm going to do is save it because I want it to be saved in this directory, and everything I reference I need it to be in this directory. So let's call it on walk rifle blend file. Save that. I don't know if these ones I got were full frames or not because that first one had a couple weird quirks of how it moved. So I'm going to re-download the frame or the animation just to make sure I get the full thing. Mixamo.com is where I got these characters and the animation so far. There's a whole bunch more characters in here, by the way, so I definitely want to okay, so I definitely want to work on adding some more characters. Maybe a plugin that has all these extra characters that you can add into your scene. But there's a ton of characters in here and animations. So what I'm looking for is it's all combat ones, but there's one where he's rifle walk. He's holding it that direction. I kind of want it to be the one where he's walking with the rifle in front of him. There's firing rifle. There's rifle idle. So that's probably what I used was rifle idle. But walking, I'd rather the walking be where he's aiming the gun in front of him. I can move it and I can actually do some of those things anyway if I need to. There's running, there's... I know some of these are rifle shoot, they're aiming upward. Haven't decided if I use one of those ones or not yet. I know, because a lot of the rifle walking that they're doing isn't like you're walking and shooting in front of you or anything. Do I have to make it where he's walking with it and then all of a sudden he goes to shoot and he moves it in front of him? That's kind of awkward because you won't be able to aim if it's not sitting there in front of you anyway. If you played this third person, you don't have to. I mean, we can go first person, but still, even in first person, I'd rather you see the gun in front of you. Well, I think I already went through all these and we're looking for it, so I might as well, we'll go back, use the one I've got now, and if I have to swap them out, I can always swap them out. But let's see. So file, import, and I'm using FBX files, and I have a forward right there. Import that. And the first thing that's always just a nice interesting thing you got to do is you have to scale them 1:1:1 so that the transformations can take place and that you can actually run it. So he's actually like 10 times the size I need him to by the time I do that much. The armature, take that first, and object, and apply all transformations, which get our angles all squared away. That's what Babylon likes to be able to import. So I have to do that first, and then I can take the armature. We don't even have an armature in here, and that's all fine. That's the reason I leave the little square in the bottom when we start this. You're going to love this. I take the cube, and by selecting that and then the armature and Control P and automatic weights, what happens is now it takes over and runs the actual skeleton or the skin of the body when you bring it in. So it runs the mesh and everything else. You should do shortcut keys. I don't know why this doesn't save. Every time I open a new file, it doesn't have that set up in there. It doesn't have it turned on. I need to resave my default so that it will. Okay, so now this particular one, he's walking, and it goes to number 25. So I'm going to set that at 25 for the number of frames. And as you can see, we've got the frame. Oh, he is holding it forward pretty much. We may aim our gun or whatever, but hey, the one I found does look like he's walking forward, kind of crouched a little bit. I can deal with that. Works for me. Okay, the other part is on the cube itself. I like to set up a thing so that, a couple of things. One of them, it's black and no reflection so that it doesn't pass off something. The other part is to change the alpha to 0 so it's invisible. And then you have to let it be alpha blend and none for shadows. That basically makes that box invisible when it comes in so that if the box tries to show when it loads the skeleton of animations, basically, it won't even show up in the scene. Now, with all those pieces in place, I can do File, Save, File, Export as Babylon. And this is On-Walk Rifle Babylon. So, Export. And notice how fast it goes. It's because it actually creates a very small file. Let me refresh. I've got an FTP up on the other screen here, and I'm just taking the manifest file and moving it, or the Babylon and the manifest file and moving them on over. Now, to add this one, and the reason I set this up the way I did was because now in the action zone, I told it that I need this animation for to be loaded. Now, all I have to do is add another animation by doing this. I'm just going to make this number 1, number 2, just so that we have something in place. I purposely didn't do 16 digits or anything like that. It's easy enough. This one will be on walk, rifle. And rifle is the same term that I'm using when I tell it I want to enact all these. So that was the key phrase. It's walk holding rifle. This one right here is on walk rifle. It's in the same folder that I put the other one, and this one only has 25 frames. It's running as a continuous loop, and speed is 1. So now that I've done this, I should now have, if I did everything right, yeah, where'd it go? Let's go back to here, and when I pick up the rifle, I should now have it also holding when I go forward. Drum roll! Let the avatar load. And now I'm going to walk forward. He's got his normal walk in place. When I pick up the gun, he moves to that position. And now when I walk forward, okay, it's not moving forward, That's one of the pieces I was going to test out here. He's also switching between the on weight normal to it. That's why he's dropping the gun in between. Okay, and yeah, YouTube, thanks for stopping by and everything else. And hey, I'll see you later. No worries. Catch you then. Okay, in fact, you know something? I'm going to take about a 5-minute break. I'm going to refill my coffee cup and I will be back. And then we're going to solve why he's not walking forward, which I already know where it is. So we're gonna play around with those settings and see if we can't get him to walk forward with the gun. He's doing the animation for it, but he's not walking forward. So we'll get that in place and see if we can't make it nice and comfy, make it work smooth between the transitions and everything else. So I will be right back. Thanks. Okay, well, I'm back, and yeah. Okay, we're getting closer. We are making progress, which is always a good thing. And so basically, here it is. Okay, and so when I go to walk, he's not walking. Now, what's happening is in the code, I have this section up here that, first of all, there's two pieces to this end section. The first one, well, there's two functions. The first function goes through and tells it which piece to run based on the keystrokes. So if you're holding down forward arrow or backwards, or if you move the mouse or do whatever, each one of those are assigned different things. So it picks up those cases of the keys pressed, and it automatically tells it this is the function we want to run. Then I did this thing yesterday where I can check the animation set that decides if it's on jump, for example, or like on walk, or whatever it is. Like here it is, on walk, or if it's on walk hyphen and then the name of the set that you want to do. So basically you can on the fly switch out sets, and it'll check to see if that animation exists. If it doesn't, it'll automatically run the other one. So what I need to do, there's two pieces here that I can see aren't functioning right. Okay, then once it figures out and creates this whole array of the different movements of whatever you told it to do, then basically from there it goes over and it will it'll come over here, and then it runs through and it sets the weights of each one of the items that you want to do. So that can totally tell it which one to run of the animations. Now the thing about it is this here, this is where we're running into the thing. Well, we could, here's the deal. When it comes through this part and it sets the weights, each key is each one of the different animations, which means there's an on walk and there's an on walk with the rifle type of animations. So since there's both of them there, this works just fine, and the weights switch from one to the next. Not an issue. But when it comes to this piece here, I need to be able to define, well, there's two things I need to fix. One of them is the key comes through and I'm only checking like on wait, on rotate up, on walk, and stuff like that. So I'm not using this. That's why he didn't move forward. So because it didn't find one of these movement pieces, it wasn't able to switch into that mode. What I can do is, I think the best way to do this here, you can always copy one of these from here. I don't think I want to decipher on walk with rifle there, because if it's a different animation, it may need a different distance to look right. So I need you to be able to adjust your stride of what you want them to do movement wise based on this. So you can have basically the same function, but I think what I want to do is, if I haven't set it up yet, I need to have a default. I know, break at the end of a default is kind of meaningless because you're falling out of the case select, the switch statement anyway, but I'm going to have it. I'm into clean formatting. So now from here, what I want it to do is we're going to go into the plugins. Notice how I have all these different things that I tell it to do. We're going to do one. I need one that returns a value. So something like this where we pass in what we're gonna. Do we return it? No, we do not need to return a value. We just need to be able to run it. Okay. Let's see, plugin molds. I'm just looking to see if there's any names that are similar, then I'll group them together. Submit forms, reset hovers, colors, process mold. Okay, so none of those. So action zones. Dispose clean on click before create. You know, on click is probably the closest one to what I'm dealing with because it render loop, no. Okay, well, I'll take one like this. We're going to make this be it. Copy that, and I'll give little spaces around it while I start this. The plugin name, I try to make it the same as the plugin where you're actually working from so that they don't end up with different setups. This particular piece, set avatar movement, and I need to pass in, let's see, a typical one does move avatar and then the move. There's some global variables. Those are all global. We're good with that. The avatar, since we have the avatar, we'll have the avatar animations running and all that stuff. That's not an issue. Avatar name, we still have that. We have the stride from this up here. Z move is... Where's that coming from? Oh, that's interesting. I usually am better about making sure I use a... Oops. Yeah, I didn't even have that in a variable up there. That's interesting. Didn't declare it anywhere. Okay. Just to do it. Bar. Okay, and that's all local. I'm just making sure if there's anything else I need to pass in. We have the weight, which is here. Then we have the switch where we're doing the key. So we're going to need possibly the weight. Okay. So we'll call it set avatar movement because that's, you know, as consistent as we can get. I like using the word plugins first so that we know it's where anything that starts with plugin is basically a hook. And then copy that to here just so that we know avatar movement is the one we're running. It will be set avatar movement is the name of the key for the index of the piece that we're going to pull through, which is the exact same name we added to the plugin. And then the variables that we want are, we want avatar. We could put the move events in there just so if anybody needs to double check and see what other move events they need to do, they'll still be available. So I think we'll put both of those in because they were passed to here. Then we have weight, and we have key. I should reverse those two. Key. That seems about right. I'll put a Z in front of them so that they're all local variables. And then I'm going to set up this to run every single time it didn't find it in this select statement right here. So in the switch statement, every time it goes through here, it looks for the ones that it can, and then it will run this function, passing on these values into here. So we have the avatar, we have the movements, which is the whole array of movements that it's currently doing. We have the key, and we have the weight. I believe that should get us there. Oh, it should return the weight. That's why I was doing it. When none of the weights are set, it passes in the weight, but then it returns the weight. If it's less than 1, then I'm automatically making onWeight do something. So this here, I'm going to need it to be whatever version of weight. It picks up the balance. So if you're less than 100% on any one animation, it'll always pick up the balance and make it work. And I can tell you what that does. When you're looking at here, notice how when I go from standing this way and all of a sudden I start to walk forward, see how he dropped the gun for a second and then he picked it back up walking? He's dropping the gun in between. That's because he's going back to the normal on weight at this point instead of making the weight automatically pick up the balance with the other. In fact, I can make it, I need to make that function return weight. So right, I'm just going to copy a line so I don't have to indent and type all that stuff. Basically like this, and it's going to return the weight there. And so if I change it in my functions, any of my functions, it'll automatically pick it up and send it back to here, which will be, I got one too many that keep on changing my width of the screen here. You know what, I can go a little wider. That'll keep it both in the view so I can go back and forth faster. Okay, so on wait on run. Okay, so now that I have that, I just need to take this and say weight equals this. Now, if it passes in and it doesn't do anything with it, it comes back, it's still weight, and we haven't appended it at all, and then it'll do this function. Now that we have that piece in place, the next part is where we did in this last setup here, we chose this function, and then what it does is it checks the on weight and double checks to see if it has a animation set running. If it does, then it'll automatically use that instead. Well, I need to use this to make up the difference right here. I need to make sure we're running that same animation set. So by doing it like this, okay, if avatar animation's running, check that, and it's not null, then it'll automatically run the weight balance of whatever it needs. So now that it's applying that set to it, let's check a couple things. It's not going to walk forward yet because I haven't put that in place. Let's see what I missed that. Core line 1821. I missed a parentheses. 1821, right? Oh, yeah. It had a red. I didn't look at the color. It was red when I typed it, right? It tries to save me from myself, right? You never know what it's going to do. You do what you can. Okay, so loaded all that. There's my guy. I'm going to walk forward. He walks forward just fine. I can stop him. He goes back to idle. If I click the gun, he picks up the gun. Okay, that's pretty quick, but I may move into that one a little better. And now if I go forward, now he's not walking. He's not even doing the motion. What did I miss? You can still rotate. Forward didn't work. We were loading the forward animation before. Oh, I know why. Let's go back in here. The one thing, I didn't set this to walk forward yet, but at the same time, I have to return in my function, and I haven't used my function yet. That's why it shouldn't have been an issue. See, my function over here, I haven't created it, and I haven't put it in place yet. Which means well, his on weight is that one, so that worked. He just doesn't have the forward, and if I turn or something, he goes back to the on weight. Okay, we didn't have any actual errors. Let me just double check. Oh, doesn't like that, I'm sure. But, okay, so weight is one of them. We have the weight right there. Key is the key that we're passing into it. Switch key, no problem. Move events were passed into the function, and the avatar is passed into the function. Shouldn't have an issue, but let me see what happens when I take that fully out again. I want to make sure we're, I don't know, double check and see if we broke something there. And here comes my avatar. There it is. Walk into the scene, so we still have all that. Picks up a gun, he jumps to that position, which is good. And there he goes, now he's walking. Okay, this shouldn't be an issue, but you know how that goes. Just gonna have that ready. If I broke something in there, I'll fix it. Make sure I didn't break something. So we walk forward. We're in this other key. Pick up the gun. There it is. And always walking forward now. Okay. Whatever was broken, I think it loaded now. I think it was because I didn't have the semicolon at the end of the line. So now that I added it, we're good to go again. Okay. And now let's see, we have Okay, so now it knows to go to the other weight program just because of this piece. So now it is automatically stopping on that. It's catching the balance of it. Let's see how it went from forward to stopping. Notice the gun didn't drop. So that did fix that piece. Gun's angled a little weird, which we can still fix. That's not an issue. We'll make it where it looks like it's going forward. Okay, so we can go from walking to forward. That part's all good. The next is, so I'm going to set up this function, set avatar movement. We'll call it that. And we're going to create that function in our paintball game. So just like we did check action zone, we're going to create another one. And it's going to be called this. Copy that, and because it's now in our paintball prototype instead of the main, it doesn't even matter that there's another set avatar movement in that one. And we'll do that, prototype this, equals function, and then try and catch. Try and catch me. No, catch me if you can. Oops. Yeah. There we go. And this will be set avatar movement. Goes there. I'm going to use Z on all these because we already did on the function that leads to this. And outside of here, regardless of what happens, we want it to return Z weight, which gives it a full cycle of anything in goes out. Next part is in here. We're going to turn on a new function. It's going to be this function with these values. They pass in just the way that the original function looked from the plugin directory. Pass those values in there. Set avatar movement and change this to all lowercase, but same name as the function itself that I'm passing into the plugins. So now that should tie it up, and we should get to this point. And then in here, if I could do an if statement, or if I'm adding more than one movement, which in my case I am, I can handle all of them just by doing, just like we did in the original, switch Z key, and then I can create different cases. So case, unwalk rifle. I could also, actually there's already going to be two of them because we have one for on weight, which is the standing there holding the rifle by itself. So we'll go ahead and make that find one, and we'll use it. So if it is doing something, it automatically detects it and runs that one anyway. And here. Okay, so then the reason I have the on wait, by the way, on wait, it's going to the animation because we covered that in that last section. But what I didn't do was our on wait command here accounts for gravity. So if we have any problem at all, it actually drops the player. So put that in here. And then, of course, we did Z avatar instead of without that. So we're going to do Z avatar there. I don't need that code anymore. And the rest of these are variables, global variables. Z avatar there. I'm just looking across them. Z move, and that one is good to go. The next one is on walk. This move override, I don't think I'm using that anymore, but I'll phase it out in a minute if it turns out that it didn't work. I needed a way to pause what everything was doing. Yeah, I'm using both actually. I'm bouncing back between, so wait, not wait. There's two different pieces. The on wait is the idle movement, so you're waiting and stopping and everything else. When I use wait as in, like somebody's wait, this one here, for example, and this that I'm passing in here, what that one is the, they're weighted animations, as in 0 is off, 1 is on, and you can make it go for any increment in between. So instead of just starting an animation where it's like click from standing still to moving forward, you can actually have it do the gradual climb into a movement. So when you're walking forward, he may even do a shorter step before he does a full stride or something. So the weighted animation actually does that type of a thing. So these are all taking our running animation by name, which is the key, on this case, on walk rifle, and then basically we use that weight of how much of it's implemented. The stride, I'm actually multiplying it in the stride because if the weight of the animation is 50%, for example, 0.5, then I only need to move half the distance forward because he's only going to do half the animation distance. So it only takes a smaller step. I only move that distance in that amount of time. So that's what that's accounting for. Good question, though. Okay, so then with these pieces in place, let me get the variables correct since I added a Z to all of them. The move, we'll put it in here too. This avatar, okay, speed ratio. Speed ratio is also another one that we can set how fast the animation speed runs, and that's what I did with the slider through the interface. Okay, animations weight, that's that. Z stride. I did a cancel sit. That's actually part of another piece of code that I was doing. So I do not need that in there. That has to do... Oh, wait a minute. I may need that in there. If I was sitting before and I go to stand up because I start walking, he does need to cancel the sit animation. that makes sense. I'll have to beef that one up as I do it, but I'm going to set that up as a mode where you're going to a sit mode, you're going to a stand mode. I may be wiping that one out altogether because instead of rifle, I could have sit with rifle instead of stand rifle or something. You know, this one's basically standing the whole time. Sit, and then if he turns, it would be rotating while you're sitting, opposed to getting up and turning or something. Yeah, I don't know. We may still do something like that, which means this whole thing is outdated now. I don't even need it. You know what? I am going to pull it. This move override, that was I was attempting to stop all animations and everything else, and that was something I threw in there to be able to do that. I don't think I need to now. Yeah, I'll have to think about that one. But for now, I'll leave it in because it was on the main one. I didn't pull it from there yet. Okay, so now he should actually walk forward when I walk. So let's find out. Yeah, unless I broke it. Paintball, line 64. What did I miss? I probably missed something at the end of a line. Oh, I know what I did. It helps if I put the colon at the end of these lines. I even noticed it, but I was doing something else and didn't come back to it. Okay. Yeah, ran in good. Okay. Now, there's my avatar. The walk animation works just fine. He can walk forward, backwards, whatever. I click on the gun. Ooh, he's starting to walk without me telling him to. No, see, an animation didn't load right. It's doing it without me touching it, which means that, set avatar movement, key is not defined. Oh, I missed one. So set avatar movement, where is key? Ah, key, right there. Okay, so these are all, Z key, and there. Because it wasn't there, it's got all whacked because it tried to load them and then it didn't run the right animation and it's all off keyframes and everything else. So it's kind of like an all or nothing. You either get it right and everything works perfect, or you don't and it's going to take an extra couple steps. Okay, so we walk in here. He's standing still, that's a good sign. Pick up the gun, it's good. Well, we're moving forward. We just don't have the animation running now. Okay, and if I stop, he does go to that pose. Okay, so we're not running the forward animation. Let me just try reloading it, just see if, for whatever reason, see if it didn't load right. Couple of things I got to check with that piece of it, but okay, so if I walk forward, I'm in this zone, pick up the gun, I'll pick up the gun, and if I walk forward, nope, we're not running the animation. Okay, what is it doing? It's moving, because we have this piece. Z key is that name. So the weight should have a value. Well, that all worked because we had a stride and we moved forward. The animation speed, Z key, that should be running fine. This could be the line causing the trouble, though. Let me find out, because it interferes with the animation. So let me see if it's... Let's find out. It might be or it might not be an issue. I should know really soon here. Really soon? No. Okay, so he walks inside here. It automatically loads the other animations. We have that, and now he walks. Okay. Well, he's going back and forth between that and this now. And of course, my backup, I didn't add an animation for that. So we're getting pretty good. We're adding some extra stuff here. So now he's moving and he's doing pretty good. He's doing pretty good. We'll figure out what we want to do with the rest of that. Here's another just point of view. First person. And when we're walking, you got the rifle. I have it off-centered, so it's not in the right place yet. And notice how he looks backwards when he walks backwards. Isn't that funny? The animation spins his head around and the actual camera is attached to his head. So, okay, so if I go to a fallow camera view, see now my gun's up there. It's not pointed directly forward though. So there's a little bit. Notice how also, see that dip when that turns? I did some keyframe reductions on the thing, just trying to save an inch, and ended up being not a great idea. So I'm going to go back, re-download those animations with a full frame in place, and we shouldn't get the weird little part of when it kicks into action and stuff. So we'll get that. I'll fix that. But notice the gun's out of place. We do not have it the right angle. I don't have anything set up in the interface to fix how they're holding things in their hand. I think I need to be able to write something that people can adjust that. The reason is it's not that easy to tell. Because see, like right now, see how this is sitting in the code? When he picks up the rifle, what I do is I am setting the rotation XYZ axis right here. So if it's not right, I have to play around with XYZ axis and see if I can't get it to, go the right direction. So let's start with the Y-axis on Babylon is straight up and down. So let me find out. We need to rotate it this direction. Good. I'm going to start with like 10 degrees and see what happens. I know. I saw that too. They come out of the sockets. I think that is also because of the keyframe reduction. It actually dropped the eye movements. So when I fix the animations to be full keyframe reduction, I'll fix it. Otherwise, it does weird. It's almost like the weight painting. I don't know if you've done anything in Blender, but the weight painting of the mesh is probably different than the eyes themselves, and because of the difference, the eyes are moving faster forward or whatever than the head itself, and so it's doing some weird stuff. But I can work on that. That's part of the avatars themselves, and I'm going to take a day and just completely work on avatars. I know some ideas of how to fix that stuff. They also have, there's an actual bone in the skeleton that you can move to pull the eyes back a little bit or do whatever. So I don't know. I'll just have to play around with those and see if I can, figure out what caused it and get it right. But yeah, it's just going to be, like right now, he's bugged out. It's like he's being chased by 100 zombies, right? Blender can apply physics. Yes, it has it. It also can be used in your designs as you're doing it, but you can tell it to apply physics onto something that you export from from Blender and put it into Babylon. Or once you get it, you can turn on the physics in Babylon to act on that mesh. So you've got it in both places where you can apply it and use it. So it's kind of a little bit of, little bit of both. See, when you're working with Blender, there's a couple of these various settings. Motion paths. Okay, no, that's part of the animation. That's not there. Let me think of where it is. Oh, I'm not selected. I think on the armature, is it? No. Oh, I don't have the... This one doesn't have it because I haven't set any of that stuff yet on this particular item. There wasn't any reason to. But see right here, we have this section for the meshes where you can actually tell it under the Babylon section, you can tell it different things like to check the collisions, freeze the world matrix so that it doesn't, you don't have to recalculate all the time every cycle, receive or cast shadows. there's some different pieces that you can do. Now, of course, because this is just a skeleton, I didn't need to do any of those items. But there's different pieces that when you add in Blender, there's a plugin or an add-in that is actually the Babylon exporter. So when you add this piece in here, it adds these different fields that are directly related to Babylon and the way it exports things. You can turn on billboard mode so that it's always facing you in your screen. If it's pickable, or if it's just background scene, like if you don't want the sky to be clickable, then you basically turn that off. There's things like that. You can auto launch animations, which I don't even need to do because in my app I wrote it where you can turn off and on the animations as needed. So that's not so much of an issue. But yeah, so it has some things like this. There's some other places that have items too for specifically for Babylon, but this is the core. I know that they have specific, I've seen the settings for physics and yeah, geometry data. Let's see. No, that's all just the bevel weights. Okay, no, that's none of it. Nah, I wouldn't expect it to be in any of those sections. Okay, but yeah, so I mean, it does have some of the options and different pieces that you can work with directly in Blender there. Blender is really cool for a free tool. You can do so much in it. And they've come a long way. It's funny because I learned it on an older version, and then basically when they came out with a new version, I had to start from scratch and watch the videos again to learn how to find everything. So it took just a little bit of time because they moved around every single menu. So, okay, so let's get in here. And the first thing I'm going to do, this is a negative 0.33. I'm going to try, that's like a negative 33%. So I'm going to try... Well, I don't want to forget these settings, so what I'll do, just in case I tweak a bunch of stuff, I want to remember what I started with just so I have a frame of reference. So I'll set that, and for now just remark out a copy of it. Okay, now I feel fine about tweaking this. I'm going to put it back to 0 and see what direction Y value is aiming. And... I just want to get closer. I can fine tune it later on, especially when we can shoot a target or something. Then I'll really play around with, once we can shoot, I'll have some fun with that. Okay, so now, that really didn't change it all that much, huh? Unless it's upward, maybe? I don't know. It's tweaked because XYZ was to where the hand was, and rotating on that, oh, I know what it did. The top of the gun rotated that way, so that's that value. Let's put that one back the way it was, just to kind of get an idea which rotation is doing what. It should actually be more upright after I do this piece. Walk into the zone and pick up the gun. Yeah, it's a little more upright. Okay, so I'm going to say -5. And then let's start messing around with another value too. I'm going to set this X value at 0. I just want to see what it does. X value should be rotation upward and downward if I have the hand go in the right direction. Okay, so picking up the gun, walking into the zone, picking up the gun. Man, it didn't move, did it? There, it did it. Maybe it's just the angle I'm looking. I don't see it doing a lot. I'll see it didn't even load all my animations. There it goes, backwards, but forward didn't load again. I got to double check that. I started moving into the zone before it finished, so it's probably off on the key sets. I'll set it up to make sure that it doesn't do it until it needs to. -0.22. One of these is going to make it really change directions on me, and I haven't figured out which one yet. This time I'll let it load all the way before doing it so that we get all of our animations in place. What it is the animation sequence is loading the different pieces, and then I'm telling it, if you're in this box, add this additional animation. Well, what's happening is it's getting in the mix before it finishes loading its first one, and because of that, it's throwing off a couple of the values because it runs a process that isn't necessarily waiting for the other one to load. All I have to do is tell it, don't do it until it knows that it's completely loaded, which isn't hard to do. It just, man, it just does not look like, the gun is moving no matter what I do. I don't know why it's not. I'm going to change that to a positive and that one to a positive. I just want to see it do something. Oh my gosh. You know something? I'm playing around with position. Rotation's down here. A wait function for JavaScript? Yeah, if JavaScript had a wait function. How about if it said, are you sure you want to do that when you're going to do something wrong, and predict if you're going to do something wrong before you do it? That would be cool. Okay, so now that I'm going the right direction with this stuff, let's try... Now I'm picking with the rotation instead of the position. It was probably moving all over the hands. I just couldn't detect it because I'm pushing the wrong dang thing. Thinking rotation, typing in... yeah, that too. Okay, so let's try this again. I should be in better shape now. If I pick up the gun, oh, there it is. It's almost pointing our direction. So we're able to rotate it the right direction now. It's being responsive. Let's try 87. Let's try the Z direction. Instead of 45 degrees, let's go 65 degrees and see if he lowers the gun a little bit. And once I get it kind of like in his hand, kind of the general direction, then I'm not going to worry about it, because then I'm going to be working on setting up the paintball shooting and stuff. And when I do that, we'll totally trick it out and make sure everything's perfect on it. Okay, so selecting the gun. Okay, and the other thing I can do is if I turn the avatar camera off, then I can actually take a look at him, how he looks from different angles. Still looks a little high for straightforward. His hands rotated that direction over here. Oh, that's funny. So the hands rotated that way, like the gun should be, like that should be the barrel piece of it right there, maybe. So if we tweak it just right, I think we might be able to fit it in between there. Yeah, VS Code has an errors tab, but when you save, there's no warning. I'm sure they can do it. Yeah, you know something, I'm sure. I'm sure they could catch it. I know. I'd probably ignore it and keep on going anyway until I saw it in the scene anyway. So it's good that the browser picks up on a lot of that stuff. So then let's see, if I come over here, I want to see from like directly in front. It's still a little inward, a little down maybe. Okay, I know, those eyes just creeping me out. Right? Okay, so X direction, I'm going to try 91, bring it down a little bit. Like I said, what would be great is if I had a little tool on the side where I could click on an object and I could find the rotation by sitting here moving it around, just clicking X, rotate X, rotate Y, rotate Z, back and forth, wherever I want it, get it all aimed right, and then be able to read the values and then just type them into my app. That would be ideal. So I may need to do a developer tool that, aligns something in the hand where you're just doing that, because then you could do position, rotation, and scaling and get everything just right. Oh, by the way, I do have a scaling here, so if the gun's too big, I can scale it too and make it where when you pick it up, it automatically goes to a certain scale. See, that's what this 1-to-1-to-1 right here is. How secure is the admin menu? Is it a simple function to enable it, making it easy to use as a hacker mod curious kid with inspect element? Actually, what I did was I thought of that and I wanted to totally protect it. So what it is there's actually two different PHP pages. The index page with PHP and then the admin page with PHP. So what happens is the admin page requires login with admin access. So it won't even put things on the page, even in HTML, if you didn't have access. It doesn't even load those components. So there's nothing on the page. It won't even load that page. It'll send you right back to the index page. So it does have a pretty good security on that part, and it's based on the session being set with the user that has ID to be able to do those items. And then as a safeguard, a lot of the functions that pull up or make changes on stuff, I'll check the session variable right as it's going to run the execution of the actual change in the database, and it checks the session variable to see if you are that person with that, with the right permissions to be able to do that function. So even if they started hacking and changing away code or something like that, it still has another piece of layer in protection that's watching to make sure nobody can write something to the database that wasn't meant to be done. So there's a couple layers. Yeah, we do have a couple layers in place. And I did it last second. So, right before it writes to the database, it double checks in the functions. It's all in the class modules. So basically, by the time it gets to the function, let me just pick one here. Thing molds, for example. When it goes to do it, check update access. This right here is saying, here's the ID. In that function, it checks your session variable and then makes sure that you have access to be able to do it. Otherwise, the whole function doesn't even work. So it still wouldn't do it because you're still going to have to hit the server side. You're going to have to hit the server side for it to actually write it to the database or something. So you may change something that looks on your screen, but you're not going to write it to the database so it actually goes out to somebody else on their screen. So it's not going to matter. I mean, you can sit there and tweak your stuff, what you see all day long. It's not going to make a difference. You're not going to hack anybody else or do anything with it. And those functions are PHP. They're on the back end. They're not on the front end. They run from the server side. So rewrite all the functions in the console with no feedback. Yeah, with no fallback. Yeah, it wouldn't catch that part. Sorry, I know game devs hate this, but I sometimes make trainers for games to add more functionality to them. Oh yeah, no, I actually love it. I love it. That's why I dropped this code out there open source too, because I want you to be able to run the code. I want you to be able to add things to it and try things with it, and everything else. And if there's things that we need to fix and make it bulletproof on the core, then we'll add in whatever we need to do. We'll keep on going on that direction. But no, I actually like it. Make trainers for games. Yeah, I love that idea. I think it's great. So yeah, definitely that kind of stuff works well for this kind of stuff. Okay, and just remember there's two levels. There's the casual browser who's going to just learn how to use the site and do different things with the site as if they're playing the game kind of functionality. If it's 3D shopping, if it's playing a game, if it's whatever, that's one side of it. The other side is the person who's setting up the site and can actually put together the pieces with plugins and, basically assemble their own game or their own scene with their own things on it, the way that they want to play the scene. So that's the concept. That's what we're doing with all this. And that's why I'm working in plugins. That's why this code right here for the Paintball is an actual plugin instead of the core scene. It basically is working from a different thing that we can turn on or off. So you don't even have to have Paintball in your game. You don't have to have it in your scene. I'm just showing you how to create plugins using a Paintball as a type. So if somebody wanted to create, let's say, zombie attack or something, then they could totally create it when you walk into that zone the same way I did the Paintball, and then they just add the different graphics, the different animations, the different whatever pieces they need to do to make it customize their own game. But they would be able to use this Paintball as kind of like, hey, here's a starting point. Here's kind of some framework that makes this happen. And that's what they'd be able to do. Okay, so I walk up here. We know we get the extra animations loaded, and I'm going to check the thing. I'm going to disconnect from the avatar. We'll work on what gets shown in the scene. Now it's actually a little down. Okay. Little down from this angle, which that's the rotation of, I think it was the Y value, so I think this one's a little high. So 89 should be okay there. And then the Z value should be, if I'm looking square on from in front of him, if it's aiming at me or not. And I think it's going the wrong direction. It's kinda. It's close. It's close. It looks better now that it's not aimed at the sky. So for now, I'm going to rotate it 78 degrees. That'll point it a little bit better on that direction. And I'm leaving Y value at 50. That doesn't seem to be a factor at this point. Just so you know what X, Y, and Z are, it's local, not global variables, and they are to the hand sitting in their T pose, which means palm of the hand down. So the Y direction would be through the hand, rotating around the hand. The X value would be from fingertip to the palm of the hand, rotating this direction. And then Z value would be rotating this direction, the hand. So that's kind of where I'm picking it from. Oops. Well, I go a different approach. For example, my bot was posted without the easy streamer change for quick debugging and easy customization. There are two versions of my bot, dev mode and open GitHub. Oh, okay. Yeah. I can see that. But it's just because I have never done things professionally. Okay. No, I get it, and there's a good reason for that. In fact, just so you know, right now, what I'm running at 3d.walktheweb.com was kind of my proving ground and test ground. So that's not even the same version that I did for open source. But I'm going to be taking a copy of my open source and putting it on that site pretty soon here. And when I do, I'm actually going to write a plugin that makes it my own hosting. And anything I have to tweak for my own version of it will be in that plugin. So I won't be releasing that plugin. I don't know, maybe someday I will, I don't know, or a version of it. But as you can say, I would be doing my own version of that piece. But yeah, I can understand totally what you're doing with that. And it's a good approach. It really is. You can have a GitHub open source that gives people the general concepts, the main idea, and it's something functional for them. But yet you have your tricked out custom version for yourself or dev mode that you're tweaking and working on and adding things, that you weren't going to put in the open version. Totally get that. Okay, let's see. There's the gun. And not too bad with the direction on that. It's still going to shoot off to the one side. So there is a little bit of a tweaking to do with that. But you know what? I'm going to leave that for now. I don't want to sit here and just tweak a couple little, grains over one degree here, 1 degree there. The biggest idea is that it's starting to take shape. It's starting to get in the right place. The gun actually is hitting him in the hand there. So I can actually stretch it a little bit longer and it would go past that. Or I can go a little shorter and make it before his hand. But you can see how it's starting to get where it's, comfortably in his hand. Enough that we can call it that. That's not too bad. That's not too bad. And then, of course, once you do that, and I'll see we don't have the walk in place. Gotta let it open everything before I move it. So, okay, and let's see. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, so definitely. I mean, I've run different versions of things. I have them too. But what I found out was I started working on this open source so much that it has refined what I did in my other one so much better. I've already fixed some things that I haven't fixed in my core one that I originally did. But here's the deal. The first one I wrote was 3dwalktheweb.com, and I just kept writing on it and testing out all this different stuff. And what happened was I ended up with a bunch of test attempts still in the code. So when I created the open source, my first goal was strip out the root code and start separating things that would be different plugins. So I would take like code that's got, for multiplayer and move it into the plugin realm. And it still works. It's still there, but it's running from a plugin now, so that when I'm ready, I can go in there and tweak that and make a better plugin and make it work, much better than it currently does. So that's, why it's separated. But then I'd go in here and say, oh, I have something where I can jump in a car and drive it. I'm moving that to a plugin. I have one that was, let's see, some of the other things. 3D shopping functionality. Put that into a plugin, because not everybody's going to want a 3D shopping website, Could you just put the open source version on my site, copy and paste, and it would work? Yes. Yes, you can download it, set it in a folder, create yourself a database. MySQL is what it's using right now, and basically just run the site. It's PHP. Run the site, and it'll ask you for your connection to your database. You type it into the form, click OK, create your user admin account, click OK. Then it lets you even select your first scene in your first building, which I have to say I haven't revisited those, so they're kind of flawed. One of the things is the orientation that you start in them is chances are when you walk into the scene or you walk in to see a building or you load it, chances are the building's behind you instead of in front of you, because I changed the orientation of the avatars to fix another issue. So yeah, so there's some little tweaks like that I still haven't done. But what I plan on doing is revisiting each one of those scenes, make sure that I have some good scenes, make sure I have some good buildings, so that when somebody downloads it and loads it first time, it's some really tricked out version of itself. So I've been building a lot of stuff in Blender, and I'll go back to that and create some really cool, awesome scenes to the best of my ability, and see if I can't drop them out there and make them available so that everybody can use those as startup scenes and stuff. So yeah, exactly, and that's usually about the time bug fixes break something else. I know. What I'm trying to do is I'm just moving forward on it. I'm just trying new things. I'm just adding the new pieces. I'm perfecting different sections of it. I just keep on adding, I just keep on making the different points move, the different points work, and putting in all the different stuff. Like here, we were just able to easily add basically walking around with the gun. So I can add, since I've done that, I can now add a whole bunch more animations of what he can do once he has the gun in his hand. And it's as easy as going in, downloading the animation, setting it up in Blender real quick, dropping it in here in this code, the action zones, and adding another animation here, so that each one on walk backwards, each one has their frame set of what the animation is. So then, as soon as you walk into a paintball zone, it knows load all these sections. And when you walk out of them, it removes all those animations from your loaded character. So they're not sitting there loaded the whole time you walk around afterwards. That's the purpose of doing that. So we'll go ahead and I'll keep on building this thing, add all the other animations, and then my next step after this is I'm going to be starting to look at actually shooting the gun. I want to be able to, hit the mouse button, or hit the space bar or something, and actually make him fire the weapon, shoot the paintball, and then I'm going to check out when it hits something, what it does. I'm going to apply physics to it so that the paintball doesn't track perfectly straight. Like if you do it long distance, it actually arches, so gravity will be involved. I'm going to do one step at a time, but I'm going to keep on doing these different things. When it hits a mesh, a different object in your scene, I want it to splatter, the whole bit. So each piece of this, we'll do them one at a time, and I'll keep adding them in. And so by the time I'm done, you'll have all the general functionality of being able to do scenes where people can just walk up and play the game just by entering that region. And that's kind of where it's heading with this piece. So cool. It's been fun and everything else, but I guess I got to go do some other stuff, make a living and all. No. But I want to thank you for watching me, and thank you, YouTube, for hanging out with me and chatting with me the whole time. I appreciate it. Do you have just asking you, do you have a server where you run stuff that you can test things on and stuff like that? because I've told Waffles that I'm going to set him up with a site on my server so he can actually test out stuff with WalkTheWeb, and he'll have FTP access to it. But if you could use one, and if it's going to help you work with me on a plugin for doing some chat and voice over IP type stuff, I'll set one up for you. So let me know if that sounds like something you'd want to do. Okay. You can still do it local on your machine, but we can also have it on my server. That way you can upload code and try it there and test out different things. So yeah, we'll have to see about what we want to do with that. Yeah, let me think about that. Let me see what I can do about setting that up. Within the next day or two, I'll set that up so that we have one on my server, and then you can just FTP onto it and use it, and the whole bit. So you'll have a database there, and it has the whole bit. You could run it local, like I said, from downloading on the site. Then as you do things, whatever, you can upload them to the site, and test them out there if you want. How fast will it need to be? It's not bad at all. It really isn't. The sites themselves, it's all client side. So the server side of it is actually very, very little. It goes back and forth to SQL, of course, MySQL. But at the same time, it's really not doing a lot of heavy lifting on the side, the local side. Because technically what you're doing is you're bringing in the textures, and you're bringing in a bunch of text files of definitions of where to place things and everything else. And then Babylon on the client side is what's actually rendering it and showing it on the screen. So all the heavy lifting's done on the client side. So server-wise, nothing. I mean, anything that can serve a web page with a couple pictures on it can do it. So that's another reason why I did PHP. I wanted to be able to make sure that anybody that runs WordPress on their site can run this on their site. So, and that's what it does. It doesn't require anything different. Just, something like MySQL, and then it runs it on the site. So with PHP. Okay, well, you got to learn MySQL sometime. Got to think of a project. Okay, yeah. Well, something, it's really not that hard to learn. Have you done any SQL? Because, I started with Microsoft SQL, and then I learned MySQL, and I've been looking at MariaDB, and that one seems easy enough. If you can do, and I've also done other ones. I've done Informix. I've done a little bit of Oracle, just tweaking, not a lot. I've done some DB2 back when I was at the county. I've done some, different ones. So I think once you get used to the general concept of it, it's just a little syntax change, and you get something anyway. So. So you've done the basics on Microsoft SQL. Yeah, you shouldn't have a problem at all. It should be fairly simple. Yeah, but something, it's just basically select, delete, update, or insert into. So those are the core. Once you get that, then there's some things you can do that are higher end. I did a ton of writing stored procedures, and now I'm writing it all where it's inline code, and then it just sends the final thing to the database like WordPress did. So yeah, but you'll pick it up fast, I'm sure. Once you see some of the stuff I did and how I did it from here, it'll come back to you pretty easily. Good deal. Well, I'm going to go ahead and shut down the stream, and I'm going to move over to I'll be on Discord, so I'll be around if you message me or something. But I got some other coding I have to get done. And so hope you have a good day, and thanks for watching. Thanks for following, and definitely I'll see you again. Have a good one.